Today we are going to be recapping Season 2 of our journey to visit all the national park units across the US. We'll show you some of the things that happened behind the scenes that didn't make the videos and share some of our stats with you.
For those of you who are new to this channel, I'm Diana.
And I'm Matt.
And we quit our Bay Area full-time jobs in July of 2018 and we started full-timing in an RV in order to visit all 419 national park units.
Back in Season 1, we visited 14 national park units, mainly around Arizona and New Mexico. And it landed us, last of all, in Organ Pipe Cactus National Monument, where we decided to start Season 2. So Season 2, we had a friend's wedding in Oklahoma City in May, and we were down there in Arizona. So we said, let's make Season 2 the drive up the historic Route 66 from Santa Monica Boulevard in Los Angeles all the way up to Albuquerque, New Mexico. And that's exactly what we did.
In Season 2, we visited 12 national park units, which brings the total so far to 26 national park units.
So we've still got a long way to go on our journey. Now, we spent a few days, first of all, just boondocking up at Anza Borrego Desert State Park, which is a beautiful area of the country. It's not a national park unit, but it's still beautiful, and it was a good stopping point for us on the way to our very first unit of Season 2.
Which was Cabrillo National Monument in San Diego.
So it was actually pretty cool. We took the truck and the trailer from Anza Borrego, where we'd been boondocking, and we stopped in at Cabrillo on our way through the area. So we parked the truck and the trailer in the parking lot there, and we actually got our 15 minutes of fame when the Google Street View car came through and captured us on there. But Cabrillo itself was pretty cool. We saw the lighthouse, we had a wander around. I think our timing wasn't great, was it? We were there not really the right time of year to see some of the marine life particularly.
Yeah, so the best time it is winter in January, where the tide is low, so that you can go explore tide pools and see the marine life in the low tide pools.
And we hit high tide in April, so we didn't time it well, but we still had a great time there. And then that same day, we then carried on up the coast, didn't we?
Yep.
And we headed all the way up to LA. We took the truck and the trailer right through the heart of LA. Not to be recommended, but that also wasn't the last time we would do it this season.
So we arrived at the Thornhill Broom campground, where that will be our base for exploring unit number 2, Santa Monica National Recreational Area.
And that was stunning. That area covers this vast amount of area near the coast there, and just hills lined with wildflowers. You've got the sea in the background. It was a really stunningly beautiful area.
It is the largest urban park in America, and on one of the hikes, we were able to see our next destination.
The Channel Islands National Park. Now, Channel Islands was our first non-mainland national park. We actually left the RV in a parking lot at Ventura Harbor, and we headed over on the ferry to the Channel Islands. And I was a little bit nervous, I'll be honest, about leaving the RV in the harbor, because just a few days earlier, while we were camped at Emma Wood State Beach, just between the two parks, we had our portable solar panel stolen. We had a 100-watt portable solar panel that was cable locked to the trailer, and in the middle of the night, thieves came along, cut the cable lock and cut the electrical cable as well, and stole our panel. So I was a little bit nervous about leaving the RV. Turns out I had nothing to worry about. It was all fine. But yeah, I was a bit apprehensive as we got on the ferry over to the Channel Islands.
But we were super excited to go there because we lived in California, and the years before full-time RVing, we traveled a lot throughout California. So we had seen pretty much all national parks in California except Channel Islands. Yeah. It just was kind of very hard to plan it because you need to book the ferry and campground at the same dates on the same island.
Because we weren't just day tripping. We actually spent 2 nights tent camping on the Channel Islands. And if you have the chance to do so, I would definitely recommend that. If nothing else, just for the sunsets.
Oh, yeah.
Those sunsets on the Channel Islands, as RVers, we see a lot of beautiful sunsets in beautiful places. But those were something magical. They were just absolutely incredible. We actually had a lot of kind of highlights on that trip. Particularly for us was the kayaking we did. So the first thing we did when we arrived on the Channel Islands was get straight away changed into our kayaking gear, and we headed out on a little tour kayaking around the coastline.
And we actually kayaked through some sea caves, so that was definitely a first for us.
I was pretty nervous about the kayaking anyway, because the waters around the Channel Islands are well known for being, well, populated by sharks, let's put it that way. So going out in a kayak, I was more than a little nervous, but we survived.
But on the land, we saw some tiny island foxes, and that was definitely a treat.
They are so cute. They're super, super tiny, like a lot of island animals. They've dwarfed over the years. But they are super sneaky, and they are super bold as well.
Yeah.
Even when you're sitting at camp, they'll come up to you and they're rummaging around trying to find any food you've left or anything.
So it is very important that you keep all your food in the fox boxes.
A lot like a bear locker, same idea, but for foxes.
Yep.
So after 2 nights tent camping on the Channel Islands, we took the ferry back to the mainland, where we spent a night in the trailer before really hitting Route 66. Now, us being us, we didn't want to do this the boring way. We wanted to do this the adventurous way. So we decided to start our journey along Route 66 from the very, very end. We took the trailer right to Santa Monica Pier in the middle of LA, and we drove historic Route 66 all the way through LA on a Friday afternoon. That was not super good fun. It took us 8 hours to get all the way through the traffic out to where we're going to be camping for the next few nights up near Barstow in California.
Near Barstow, we stayed at Newberry Springs RV Park. Our first stop was Baghdad Cafe, which is famous because the movie was shot there, and now the cafe is named after the movie.
And the reason that we were staying at the RV park was to get things ready for our next adventure. We were going to be driving the 130-mile Mojave Road right through the heart of Mojave National Preserve. Now, this is a journey that we've done before. It takes about 3 days to do, 2 nights camping along the road, and it's super good fun. You do need a 4-wheel drive, high clearance vehicle to do it, and so we were just taking the time to get prepared. And everything was going really well. We had all our stuff packed, our camping equipment, our tent, all our off-road gear. We made sure all that was in good condition, until the night before when we found that our trailer had a flat tire. So we had to do a pretty quick swap over with the spare tire, just so that when we got back to the RV after the Mojave Road, that we wouldn't have to worry about it then, because we were not taking the trailer along the Mojave Road. As adventurous as we are, even that's a step too far for us. So we left the RV in storage at the RV park, and a couple of days later, we headed out to start the Mojave Road.
We had done Mojave Road before, so it was super fun to be back and see it again. We were car camping and saw amazing night skies and amazing sunsets.
And this time though, we were doing the Mojave Road on our own, so we had taken some precautions and logged our route with the rangers at the visitor center halfway through. And fortunately, the whole trip went without incident. It was a really smooth crossing and we had great fun. But on the third morning, we woke up and the plan had been to just boondock in the area there for a few days afterwards. But we saw the weather forecast and it looked like a heat wave was coming through, temperatures in the high 90s. So we decided to get out of town basically. And we finished our journey across the Mojave Road, picked up the trailer and hit the road heading east.
That day was our longest driving day with the RV at 369 miles, and we made it all the way through to Flagstaff, Arizona, where 5 national park units waited us.
And Flagstaff turned out to be a great base to visit the 5 national park units in the area. We started with Sunset Crater Volcano just a couple of days later. Now, Sunset Crater Volcano is actually another unit that we have been to before. And it's a series of great little hikes and exploratory trails and things all around the base of Sunset Crater Volcano.
On the same day in the afternoon, we continued the scenic roadway and we went to the Wupatke National Monument. We lucked out on timing and we were able to join a ranger-guided hike where we were able to kind of explore backcountry and see some pottery shards right on the ground.
And after doing 2 units in one day, you might think we'd be a little bit tired and needed a break, but no such luck. The very next day, we went out for another double unit day, starting with Montezuma Castle National Monument,
which preserves cliff dwellings built high up on the rocks.
But Montezuma Castle National Monument is interesting because it actually has 2 sites. One is where the main cliff dwellings are, but there's also Montezuma Well that we went to as well.
Yeah. And Montezuma Well is a large collapsed sinkhole that has water on the bottom pretty much all year round, and it also has built cliff dwellings right on the rim.
So from Montezuma, we transitioned straight away to the second unit of the day, which was Tusigoot National Monument.
Tusigoot is another place that preserves Native American history, and this place, the visitor center, had very nice reconstruction of the pottery. There we also saw a very well-preserved Sinagua village.
In fact, Tuzagut is considered to be the best preserved pueblo in the area. So that was really cool to see.
The next day, we visited our fifth and final national park unit around Flagstaff area, which was the Walnut Canyon National Monument.
Walnut Canyon is absolutely beautiful. Not only are the views looking out across the rim absolutely stunning, but there's also a trail called the Island Trail that descends down a lot of very steep steps, but takes you along this little trail that winds right past a whole load of cliff dwellings.
So the Island Trail is special because it kind of goes around an island that's in the middle of a canyon. So you kind of can see the canyon up close, but you are high up instead of being at the bottom of the canyon.
After exploring all 5 national park units in the Flagstaff area, it was time to continue our journey east. So we jumped back on the road and we headed up towards Petrified Forest. But along the way, we stopped at a very special little place called Winslow, Arizona. You may know it from the song Take It Easy by the Eagles. So we went there, we stopped in with the trailer, and we had our photo taken standing on the corner in Winslow, Arizona.
After that, we headed further east to Petrified Forest National Park.
Petrified Forest National Park is yet another unit that we have been to before, but we were very excited to be back at this one.
Because now we were able to spend a lot more time there and actually do some backcountry hiking. On the first day, we went to the visitor center and the Desert Inn and saw the Painted Desert. And the second day, we drove through the Petrified Forest National Park along the scenic road, and we stopped at pretty much every single stop and did the small hikes in each stop. On the third day, we did 2 backcountry hikes. First one to Onyx Bridge, and the second one through the Jasper Forest.
And a lot of people, I think, don't realize about the backcountry wilderness hiking that you can do in Petrified Forest National Park. So be sure to check out that video and go and see some of the places that we went.
After Petrified Forest, we continued our journey east and stopped at the next national park unit along Route 66, which was El Morro National Monument.
El Morro is Spanish for the headlands, and the headlands there have something very interesting to see. At the base there is a pool of water, and this is the only reliable water source for miles around, and it attracted a lot of people travelling through the area to that exact spot, including about 800 years ago the ancestral Puebloans who built a huge pueblo on top of the headland. 875 rooms this thing is, it's absolutely massive. But over the centuries that followed, more travellers passed through the area, and all of them have inscribed their names on the rock there. So it's pretty cool to hike the trail, to see the pool of water that brought people there, the inscriptions on the rock, and this giant pueblo that's been excavated, partially excavated, on top of the headlands.
And the hike takes you up on top of the bluff, where you walk through this rocky terrain that has a trail kind of almost marked into the rocks, including steps carved out in the rocks. So that was quite a unique hike. We stayed at the Joe Skeen campground, which is a BLM campground, but it's free. And from the same location, we then went to explore El Malpais National Monument.
So El Malpai, another Spanish one here, is Spanish for the Badlands, and they are Badlands for sure. The El Malpai area is essentially dominated by these giant lava fields, which have left this incredibly rugged, very rocky terrain for visitors to go and explore and to hike, and that's exactly what we did.
Yeah, it also has caves. We did not explore any caves because a lot of them are closed in certain times of the years, but also the weather did not cooperate with us and it was mostly raining a lot of the time. But we did manage to get to hike El Calderon, and that brought us to the top of the cinder cone, and we were able to walk all the way around it.
We also hiked the Zuni Acoma Trail out into the lava fields. The hike itself is 7.5 miles one way, but with no car to bring us back round again to the start, we decided just to hike halfway out and then turn around and come back.
So El Malpais was the last unit of the season 2. We had to go to the wedding to Oklahoma, and it was on a certain date, so we had to make our way across. But it was spring, and that turns out is a tornado season.
One of the challenges we have, having not grown up in the US, is we don't always understand some of the weather patterns and what to expect in different areas. But we were very concerned about driving all the way to Oklahoma in what we believed was tornado season. And as it turned out, we were completely correct. We decided to leave the RV in storage at a campground in Albuquerque and then drive with just the truck all the way to Oklahoma City for the wedding. We had a fantastic time at the wedding, but we decided to come back a day early. which in retrospect was a fantastic decision, because if we'd been even probably 12 hours later,
Yeah.
I think we'd have been caught in the tornadoes that hit there last year.
And one thing on the way to Oklahoma, right after Albuquerque, there is a musical highway. If you drive at 45 miles an hour and your tire is right on the sort of section of the road that has rumble strips in, you will hear a song.
Back in Albuquerque with the trailer, we took the opportunity of just being in one place for a few days to install another 200 watts of solar panels on the roof. This was to replace the 100 watt portable panel that had been stolen a few weeks before, and that 600 watts has now been working really well for us.
After that, we headed north and we boondocked at a place called Angel Peak Campground, which I think is one of the most beautiful spots we have camped at. But on the way there, we actually encountered some snow. We were checking out another potential spot near Cuba, New Mexico, and we almost got stuck.
We did. The plan was never actually to make it to Angel Peak. We wanted to stop at this first place called Forest Road 88. And the sunny weather we had had for a few days before, setting up the solar panels, disappeared, was replaced by a pretty brutal snowstorm that came through the area. And we drove the truck and the trailer down onto this forest road. We ended up stuck. We were in four-wheel low, we had the rear diff locker on, all four wheels spinning on the truck. It took us about 10 minutes, 15 minutes to get out of there. It was not nice. So we decided to move on, head up the road. And I'm glad we did, because like you say, Angel Peak was one of the most beautiful places we've ever camped. So that brings us to the end of season 2. It was incredibly fast paced. From the date of the first national park unit we visited to the date of the last was just 1 month. Couple of weeks at the end there around Albuquerque and things. It was a really, really fast season. But we had a lot of fun and we want to share some numbers with you.
Because as you know from the previous season recap, I'm kind of a data nerd, so I like tracking these things and sharing with you guys. So in season 2, we saw 12 national park units, 8 national monuments, 2 national parks, 1 national preserve, and 1 national recreational area. So these stats cover 56 days, and we drove 4,832 miles, and 38% of them were towing miles, which was similar as in season 1.
And that's including obviously all the time from Anza Borrego right through to the end of Angel Peak when we crossed over north into Colorado.
Exactly. And which is actually quite interesting to see, we only stayed in an RV park with full hookups only for 3 days out of that whole time, which was 5% of the total days. And this was at Petrified Forest National Park.
And actually the main reason we did that is we wanted to flush our tanks out. We'd been on the road at that point for, about 9 months? And we wanted to flush the fresh tank out. So we needed somewhere with hookups. Because
in the previous RV park where we stayed, Newberry Springs, we were actually dry camping in the park. So full hookups were only 5% of the stays, compared to 14% in season 1. Otherwise, we did 25% of the nights boondocking and 53% nights of dry camping. And to remind you, so our definition of boondocking is, I guess, maybe more stricter than other people's. We say boondocking is when we are dry camping with no hookups on public land with no facilities.
Dispersed camping. It's not in an actual kind of like operated campground. Even if it is free, we would consider that dry camping still, not boondocking.
Exactly. And we also had a few nights in hotels, a few nights car camping, and a few nights of tent camping. So yeah, season 2 was quite a variety of places we stayed. Overall, average camping night cost was $11.07. The average cost of dry camping was $20.38.
And you might be wondering, wait a minute, how is dry camping so expensive? Well, that's really down to the California state parks we stayed in along the coast there.
Exactly.
They were dry camping. They were super small sites. The views were stunning. You're literally on the beach or the sea wall, but they were not cheap.
Yeah, they were. So dry camping in California state park campgrounds was $38 a night on average, including the fees that you have to pay when you book the nights. Dry camping in an RV park was $20 a night. Dry camping in a city campground in Albuquerque was $14. Dry camping in BLM campgrounds. So these are places where they have a picnic table and maybe a grill. Those were free.
And that was Joe Skeen and Angel Peak, I think.
Peak, yes, exactly. Otherwise, boondocking was free. And Passport America RV park stay, which was near Petrified Forest, was $30 a night. And tent camping was $15 a night at the Channel Islands.
And free on the Mojave Road.
Yes, true. So in total, we hiked 53 miles and kayaked 4 miles inside the national park units. So that was season 2. What's next?
Next up, season 3, and guys, this is going to be a big one. We are heading up into Colorado. Now, we were pretty nervous about heading up into Colorado. I've said this to a few people before. We didn't know whether we wanted to go or not. We had heard so much about Colorado, we were a bit nervous. Why? Because we were scared we were going to love it so much that we would stop RVing and just stay there. So we were very excited when we crossed the border up into Colorado, ready to spend the entire summer in the state.
So stick around for those upcoming videos of season 3. If you're new here and you haven't seen our older videos, go check out. We have playlists for season 1 and season 2. If you have been around for a while and you have seen those videos, we thank you so much for liking our videos and leaving really nice comments on the videos.
Yes, thank you. Your information in the comments, the emails, all those things that we get from you, we love reading those. And they've given us some great ideas that we've been able to fold into our travels over the past year or more on the road. So thank you so much. This video is a little bit different to most in that we've given you a bit more of a behind the scenes, I guess, what's going on as we travel. If you enjoy these kind of updates, then check out the link in the description below to sign up to our newsletter. We send out an email once a week where we update people on what we've been up to.
So thanks for watching and see you in the next video, which is cliff dwellings high up on a cliff face.
I was wondering where you're going with that.
My hands doing stuff. La 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 la.
That was our neighbour passing through.
We didn't know him.
Okay, That's all you're getting from me. So, because I'm melting